All right, all right, all right. It is week 11 of my journey into doing these journals with the legal blindness process. And basically, happy to report. No change. I'm sitting at about 15 inches of functional vision. And what that basically means is that for about 15 inches, I can see pretty good. I mean, there's a little bit of fuzz to it, but reading and things like that are accomplishable. Beyond that, it gets fuzzier and fuzzier, of course. And then, of course, with mine, I have a condition that detracts from my peripheral vision. So I can't see my hand out here, right here. I can't see it. I'm barely starting to be able to see it. So, coming off of it, that kind of says anything. Everything beyond that, it's not there. But after going through very, very significant slides in between really October, but the truly noticeable was January to May time frame, and then a little bit beyond. It's leveled off. Haven't changed anything really major, other than I guess you call it major. I mean, I've done everything I can to reduce stress where I can. There's nothing with ocular diseases and things. They tell us there's nothing that's a silver bullet. There's nothing to say, oh, well, Johnny or Susie, if you do this, then it will do that. Because everybody apparently is a little bit different on this. The one thing that they do seem to agree on is that they think that ocular pressure increases and things like that make a difference. And so reducing your stress, reducing your eye strain is highly recommended. If you have diabetes, of course, managing that, which I don't, but eating right and having a healthier lifestyle is obviously recommended. Now, even with that, with some people, it still does what it does, and with others it slows, and they just don't know why. So I did take some measures to drop back on some of the stresses in life that were optional, and pull back on doing quite so much on in my personal life, and that seemed to maybe help me some, because my vision hasn't slid now in probably 6-7 weeks, which I'm very thankful for. So I'm going to continue, obviously, to manage that. All of our lives have stress. You can't avoid that, and nobody's saying you should, but managing it might be something that you should try if you're struggling with this and you haven't done that yet. Step back, write down what's important, priorities, what can be managed differently, what can't be managed differently, and then make choices from there, or whatever your process is. That was mine. And then working on the daily management of it. And what I mean by that is that woo-saw, that zen, that just taking a chill pill, however you want to word it. I'm very type A, and it frustrates me still, of course, but it frustrates me not to go, get it done. Let's, run through the wall, if you will. You gotta become okay with that. You know what? It's okay to slow it down, get it done right. I'm not saying be slower than anybody else. That's not what I'm saying at all. But you don't have to finish 17 things before someone else finishes one. And create that extra stress, that extra pressure, and everything that it takes to make that happen. You got to be okay with in everything. And I'm not talking like just work or personal, in everything. In my personal life, I've always been and the Energizer Bunny of the house, if you will. Up at 3 o'clock in the morning, running around cleaning the house, doing the dishes, working, working on my side stuff of learning more stuff and just all kinds of different projects, you name it, and not really taking the time to slow down, have a cup of coffee at 5 o'clock in the morning, and watch the deer walk around the yard. That's always driven me nuts. I've wanted to go, and so I've had to kind of start to retrain myself on what's important, and slow it down that little bit in the morning, and for me it seems like that makes a huge difference, and that is very different for who I have been in life, and so it's almost a reinvention of some things, so that I can perform at those higher levels on the things that I choose to do, throughout the day with my personal and my work. And so instead of trying to tackle 400 things in a day, have a reasonable number of things you do and do them well. And that's seemed to have helped lower my stress levels, and having everything at a moderate level. It's throughout the Bible. I mean, it's not like new knowledge here for thousands of years. Essentially, it's the whole everything in moderation conversation, right? You can have a glass of wine, but don't drink the barrel. It's the same principle in doing things. I can accomplish everything I need to at work, and I can accomplish everything I need to in my personal in a day successfully, but don't try and do 3 days worth of work in one day. And it's really what it comes down to on that. And I think that has seemingly made a difference. And so, I'd encourage, try that out. We're still trucking along in everything else. I will tell you, the memorization of the Braille stuff is not impossible. It is harder than what I would have thought it would have been, because the dots, the code, it's similar. I mean, bottom line is you kind of go along, which it's a good thing and a bad thing that it's similar. The top four dots make up a line, if you will, a row of the letters, and then they add one dot in the bottom left, and they still use those top four to make up the next row. And then to go to the third row of information, they add the second dot at the bottom to tell you that. Well, that's all good, except as over the years, they added letters and things like that. So it's not a perfect layout. If it was, it might be a little different, but it's not. So like, for instance, the letter W wasn't in the French language when the 15-year-old designed Braille, and hats off to them. So it was added later. Well, because it was added later, it doesn't follow the same pattern and sequence. So there's little nuances in there like that are definitely slowing it down a little bit. And then I'm working on the tactile feel of it. I may actually try something I'd seen from someone else who's visually impaired. They've been visually impaired for a lot longer. I think they said like 5 years old. But their dad had gotten 5 different grains of rice, and if I remember the story correctly, and if I'm off, I apologize. But and basically, one single bowl, all 5 thrown in and shaken up, and then 5 bowls in front, and to teach the difference in the pads and the feeling and make them more sensitive. Each day she would have to sit there and physically, without looking, without sight, pick up one grain of rice out of the bowl, feel it in her hands, and then place it into the correct bowl in front of her with them and essentially sort the rice, which sounds like a task that would drive you bonkers. But according to them, it helps to train the pads to distinguish slight differences, which helps with the braille side of things. I'm thinking about maybe getting some rice and driving myself up a wall with that. But I think that it's probably there might be something to it, So thinking about trying that. Still waiting on everything technology wise, other than the Fusion software. I'm still waiting on everything else. State's kind of gathering everything, going to bring it all in one shot because I live in the boonies. And I told the guy, man, don't drive out here with every single item, for the love of God. It'll take too much time away from you helping everybody else. I'll manage until you can get out here in one shot. So hopefully that's going to come soon. We're having some issues in the family, and so should be interesting. Unfortunately, my dad's having some issues, so health issues. So we'll see how much I'm able to help the family on this versus hinder. It's definitely something where not being able to drive and you get something like this to pop up. There's a lot of things where you go, oh, I can't do that. Oh, I'll do, not really. And there are ways to do some of this stuff. But like, for instance, as simple as, hey, can you run him down to Walgreens? Well, no, can't, but could get a Uber and go with him to Walgreens in the Uber and then back. So there are ways to accomplish it. Financially, those ways are, quite frankly, more painful than if you just jumped in the car and ran down there. So should be a learning during this to figure out what's how you can help and what makes the most sense. And there are monetary concerns to be brought in on this that wouldn't have been before. So. And also not trying to come across cold to the family members, but it's different. Doesn't mean that you can't be helpful in family emergencies and things with visual impairment, but it does mean that it's got to be done differently. So we'll see how that goes. Beyond that, though, right now it's not going to be a lot different for a little bit. Right now I'm focusing on trying to learn Braille as I can. You can only put so many hours into that before your head's going to explode, figuratively and literally. You're almost, not literally, but almost, from the pain. So working on that. Once the technology stuff drops, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces to that, and I'll definitely be covering that stuff on the channel for anybody who is thinking about any of these devices. Might help you out. And then O&M school is coming up very, very shortly now, within a month. So I'll definitely have some stuff to talk about from that, I'm assuming. So at any rate, in closing, super happy we're still at 15 inches functional vision, and just very, very blessed to be walking around the earth. And there are plenty of folks out there much worse off than we are, and so I just thank God for the gifts, and hope to see, no pun intended, the path, and do what this yields to me. I firmly believe there's a reason that I'm legally blind, and I've just got to find how to positively use that in the world. So. And that's what I'm trying to do as well. So anyway, hope everybody has a good one. Peace out, Girl Scout.